Operation Epic Fury enters day 4. Iran and its terror proxies ramping up attacks across the Middle East. And the U.S. military continues to unleash massive firepower with no slowdown in sight. Welcome to the Big Money Show. I'm Brian Brenberg, along with my co-hosts Taylor Riggs, Dagan McDowell, Jackie DeAngelis, and with us for the hour, Fox Business senior correspondent Charlie Gasparino. Welcome, sir.
Thanks
Good to
for
see
having
you.
me.
Well, President Trump is meeting with Germany's chancellor at the White House right now while his administration briefs lawmakers. Vice President Vance says the goal isn't short-term containment, it's permanent prevention.
I think the president has made it very clear that the United States has a lot of optionality here. And, we could go for a little bit longer, we could go for a lot longer, but I think the president just wants to make it clear to the Iranians and to the world that he is not going to rest until he accomplishes that all-important objective of ensuring that Iran can't have a nuclear weapon, not just for the next few years, not just because we obliterated Fordow or some other enrichment facility, but because the Iranians themselves commit long-term to not building a nuclear weapon.
Secretary Marco Rubio says the U.S. will take action to mitigate rising oil prices. Edward Lawrence is at the White House with all the breaking details. Edward.
Yeah, Brian, you talked about it. Right now in the Oval Office, the president is meeting with the German chancellor, and already the president says that Iran is running low on their missile count. He also says that he's surprised Iran attacked what he calls neutral countries, and he believes those neutral countries will now join his effort against Iran. So the president is still talking about Operation Epic Fury with the German chancellor in the Oval Office. The president says that the U.S. thought this would be a 4 to 5 week campaign, but he admits it's going faster than they thought.
We'll obviously be talking a little bit about Iran today, and he's been helping us out. You've been very nice, actually. And that is coming along, as you see, very well. They have no Navy. It's been knocked out. They have no Air Force. It's been knocked out. They have no air detection. That's been knocked out. Their radar has been knocked out.
So at the moment, almost no oil is being shipped through the Strait of Hormuz for fear that Iran could try and strike those ships. President Trump says the Iranian Navy has all been destroyed. CENTCOM reports there are no more Iranian ships in the Gulf of Oman at the mouth of that strait. But oil prices have now edged up, as you know. To deal with that, Secretary of State Marco Rubio says there's a layered, phased plan they will start to roll out as the military option continues.
I'm not going to give away the details of our tactical efforts, but the hardest hits are yet to come from the U.S. military. The next phase will be even more punishing on Iran than it is right now. Someone was screaming, how long will it take? I don't know how long it'll take. We have objectives. We will do this as long as it takes to achieve those objectives, and we will achieve those objectives. The world will be a safer place when we're done with this operation.
So right now, we don't have exact details of that phase plan. I can tell you there's a 2 o'clock meeting with the Energy Secretary and Treasury Secretary in the Oval Office today. We hopefully will get more details after that meeting is concluded about how this plan will go out and how it will affect energy prices here in the U.S. Back to you, Brian.
We will be watching, Edward Lawrence. Thank you very much. All right, I got to go to my energy expert on my immediate left here for what's happening with oil, what's happening in energy markets. What do you think, Jim?
Okay, I just want to remind everybody that leading up to this, from January until the actual strike happened, oil prices rose about $10, and I'm talking about WTI. So it's another $10 from there. There was some priced in. I still think this is really moderate action, given the severity of what's happening in the Middle East right now. The oil markets overnight did not love the fact that the Iranians struck with drones the U.S. embassy in Riyadh, because in the first attack, the United States and Israel were able to get Iran's main export terminal. And as Dagan was talking about yesterday, their production, what they send over to China, has dropped substantially. So they're sort of taken out of this equation, but it's not about them. The Saudis produce 10 million barrels a day, and they do use the straits as well, and others use the straits. Cargo goes through it, natural gas goes through it. So I'm not discounting how important geographically the Strait of Hormuz is, but I'm also saying that in past conflicts, we've seen oil prices spike way more than this. Now, we're also getting reports on the news side, Fox News, that overnight there was a strike on a building where the mullahs were gathering to basically appoint their next supreme leader. Since the first part of the operation took out the real supreme leader, and then those, 49 deputies as well. So what we're seeing from the Trump administration and also from the Israelis is that they keep attacking these leaders before they can even be appointed, to create a situation where there is no organization and complete chaos within the IRGC, which is also what you're seeing on the military side of this, because as they attack their neighbors, you see how desperate they are and how desperate they become. This is very different than what we saw in 1979, when those neighbors actually stood with Iran against the United States and against Israel in some ways as the revolution happened. So I think these things are all significant. When Marco Rubio talks about the hardest hits are yet to come, I think one of the reasons this market has rebounded a little bit is on this news of that overnight strike. And I think when the U.S. and Israel are more aggressive, you'll see markets cheer that. If Iran gets a little bit of a win like it did with the embassy, you're going to see markets and oil take that a little bit more to heart. What I like is that the president continues the messaging that this is moving along quickly, because time is of the essence here. You want to take out this regime, you want to end the nuclear threat, and you want the people to be able to come up with their transition and what happens next on the ground. Moving along quickly is a very good thing.
Dagan, Strait of Hormuz. I read one of your favorite guys on the issues there, Javier Blas, and the point he made is the key actually isn't so much getting tankers out of there, it's getting tankers in, because all the storage tanks that these guys use in the production phase are filling up. So what do you think about that?
I think that read Javier Blas. And I know that he works for a competitor, but he has written copious amounts on the issue. For the United States, we're looking at, based on the price moves in the last couple of days on crude and on RBOB gasoline, up about 5.5%. The national average of gas is going to be $3.30 a gallon and beyond over the next few weeks. To the Secretary of Energy and the Secretary of the Treasury, they're going to look to do things to mitigate this. It's really not even a supply shock yet. It's a price shock. Whatever happened to just hunkering down? We don't know. My dad, my whole family fought in World War II and lived through it. They had food rationing coupons. That was just what you did.
I pumped gas on the odd and even days.
Right. During the Arab oil embargo. I'm just saying, I know that
there was two of those.
I know it's a midterm election year, and they have to look like they're doing something, but just how about we're doing what is right for the world. I just want to.
That's a great point. And it's a point that, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I just wanted to add one more quick thing. The most troubling thing for me, as it's been all year, is what's going on in interest rates. So you have had a 2-day move to the plus side in long-term interest rates. U.S. Treasuries, the longer-term interest rates.
What's the 10-year at?
It's over 4%, but
the 10? The 10 was over.
It's over 4%. Okay. It's at 4.06. However, they're dumping what is supposed to be a haven asset class, a safety play. Stocks are selling off, and people are dumping treasuries as well.
I don't think that's crazy.
It is crazy considering where treasuries were, and it's 2 days, and it's a sizable move. And the problem is because, and I've talked about this for a year, there's no way we get out of this situation in Iran for under $1 trillion. We are so deep in debt. We are paying $106 billion on average a month in interest on the debt. The president already wanted to spend $500 billion more on the defense budget, then go from $900 billion to almost $1.5 trillion the coming fiscal year. And we don't have the money. So you're going to borrow more to basically set it on fire or blow it up in Iran. And then that will drive up what we're already paying on interest, which is annually more than we spend on our national defense. We have not socked away any money for a rainy day, for a crisis, be it financial or military. And this is where we are. And the Supreme Court shot down the much-needed tariff revenue, although it was only about a $250 billion, $271 billion since last year. But that was something that we needed, and we hella need it now.
I'm going to say a 4% 10-year is not catastrophic. It's not predicting the deficit Armageddon. There's something else involved here. Listen, I spent the last 2 days talking to what I consider smart money, people in C-suites, and I've been saying, so shouldn't we freak out about this? Here's what they all, and these are names. I don't want to say their names because you know them and they won't talk to me again. But they told me, remember, markets always overcorrect on the downside. Always overcorrect. Liberation Day took in the worst case scenario. Yes, Trump backed off. It's his negotiating style is to compromise. Remember, when you meet some strategic goal, which was to put the world on notice, that in that case it was that we're not patsies and we're not going to let you screw us forever. In this case, it's the same thing. And I will say this, and this is why there's a rosy scenario involved with smart money. They think we're going to be out of here in a few weeks. They think that country, its leadership, will be decapitated. They think their nuclear capabilities will be annihilated. They think that most of the leadership will either be dead or beaten up so bad they're going to be like the woman who replaced Maduro and willing to give us whatever we want. They think oil's going to flow out of there. They think there's a good shot at the Abraham Accords to expand across the region. They think whatever we spend militarily, we'll also make up with a booming economy if this thing happens. There is a scenario here that's very positive. Now, in war, you can never predict anything. I mean, listen, tomorrow they can wipe out, have some missile that takes out one of our aircraft carriers, right? How many people is it? How many soldiers?
Yeah, it's possible, but they're assessed highly.
I don't know. I'm not a military expert. The closest I've come to the military is my old man was a Marine recon. But that's as close as I know. But if something like that happens, then, all bets are off. Then it's maybe boots on the ground. And then you see this thing prolong. But if this thing lasts 5 weeks, let me just make this point. If this thing lasts 5 weeks and we take them out, economy booms. Markets go up. Interest rates go down, not up. We might have to, at some point, start paying down the deficit. But because of that cycle, we don't have to do it immediately.
Taylor, just real quick, you're reading how markets are reacting to all this. What do you see?
Yeah. So I see stability. Now, one note I read this morning that I liked is for a sustained decline in the equity markets, let's say 15% drawdown in the S&P 500, sustained painful drawdown. You need to meet 3 different thresholds, and I'll tie this back to oil, an oil-driven equity market sell-off. So oil spikes create chaos and panic and everything else. 3 thresholds have to be met, none of which I think have been met. 1, you need a large oil price spike. I'm talking like a 50 to 100% jump. We are not there, and that has to be sustained over a period of several months. By the way, Trump just came out, the president, and said he expects oil prices to go down the minute this thing is over. Number 2, you need sort of broader macro damage. So you need a shock like this that already tips a slowing economy into a recession. If anything, I think we've seen the opposite of that. So that threshold has not been met. And third, maybe we're a little closer to this, a hawkish response. A Federal Reserve says we're going to pause or hike because inflation's out of control. We're not near the hiking, but you have seen some traders betting on maybe we're not cutting, maybe we're pausing and waiting. So for me to get sort of this sustained big drawdown in the equity markets, you would need a lot more factors going on, none of which I see. I do see stability in the bond market. I see gold down today. Maybe that's liquid and easy to sell. And I do see some strengthening in the dollar. You're only 99 at the DXY. But again, that sort of takes us right back to where we were. So I do sort of underneath the surface see calmness, a well-behaved sell-off, I'll call it.
We don't have a lot of time, but I'm very curious what's going to happen at this 2 p.m. meeting with regard to the oil and gas price response. Do you think it's a big market mover, or Jackie, just real quick, or do you get nervous that if you do something that feels kind of gimmicky, it betrays that you're concerned about how this all plays out.
Yeah, I don't think that they should right now. I mean, barring something that Charlie's talking about that changes the dynamics here, I think that, you explain it to the American people as it's going to be temporary, the prices are going to come back down, and we've got this. Like, I mean, I can't see them at 2 o'clock saying that they're going to take oil out of the SPR. They just put oil back into the SPR. If there's a 30-cent move on gas, I don't see why you would do that. So let's see what they have to say.
How about Venezuela? Are we not... I mean, isn't it nice that we took out that guy? We got our proxy in there. Doesn't that sort of deal with some of this?
And China was buying most of their oil, so we can talk about the China angle,
telling you,
too.
I am not positive usually on anything. I wake up thinking of all the things that go wrong in the morning. I think there's a reasonable chance, more than reasonable, this thing in 3 weeks looks a lot better.
Yep.
Look at some of these headlines just before we go, Brian, that we're putting up there. A lot of people in Iran asking for immunity. The president is holding this presser, and some headlines are coming out of that. He was saying that their air defenses, the Iranians' air defenses, have been, taken down, basically, essentially. So
Taken down the first day, though.
Right, but we're making progress here. When he says that we're moving quickly.
But someone yesterday who is I would describe as an arch conservative who knows the president quite well said to me the one thing that bothered him was the glowing headlines.
Yeah. There is...
Because it comes, he said, the rolling glow of these positive headlines. It just seemed a little too managed.
Yeah, well, there is a disagreement, just real quick, in the conservative movement over this, as we all know. And I listen to the podcast.
Oh, yes.
And by the way, that disagreement, don't be surprised that it's not playing out a little bit inside the White House. I actually know it is.
I believe it is.